Because what he gets ready to say, we miss it what he's really saying because it seems so absurd in what he's really talking about. But you got to think, Solomon got involved in a lot of junk he should have been involved in because he was negotiating and playing with people he should have never played with. And you don't end up with 700 wives and 300 concubines and doing nothing. You are doing high places. You're all over the place. So Solomon was to the left, all the way to the left. I do believe Solomon came back where he should have been. And what we have is Solomon writing the error of his ways. So what he's really going is he's telling very valuable information. I will say this. We become so cocky in our thinking that we think that we should not listen to somebody who's homeless and on drugs when they give advice. Because what do they know? Well, let me tell you what they know. Don't ever do drugs. You may think it's going to be fun going to party smoking weed, but then after a while, weed won't be enough, and you may start sprinkling it, or you may start doing something else, and then before you know it, you're chasing that high, and then once you get that high, you start going, you'll sell off everything that you can, and I don't even know how I ended up here. Where did it start? Smoking a J. So what's the homeless drug addict on the street telling you? Don't make the mistake I made, but we'll sit up there and say, they don't know what they're talking about. That is wisdom talking. Wisdom of error, and they're saying, don't make the same mistake. And here's Solomon saying the same thing. And so we're going to start reading what he says because it's important, these little nuggets he's really trying to say. Verse 8, somebody go.
Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching. For they are a graceful garland for your head, and pendants for your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent.
All right, hold on. How does somebody entice you? Can I entice you with something? I could. What can I entice you with?
Chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip. What can I entice you with that's sinful?
Lots of chocolate.
We're not going to do the Bible answer. Jesus, God, we're not playing that. What can I entice you with that's sinful? A lot, right? I know you don't want to say your mom's sitting right there. You're kind of like, Brent, why you putting me on the spot? You're a grown woman, dog. Don't be scared of her. She can't whip you. But think about that, right? Think about this. At the end of the day, I could entice you with stuff that you would want to do, right? And Yvonne, I can entice you with stuff that you want to do. And what he is saying to his son is, hey, he's telling him, be careful, because they're going to come and they're going to try to entice you. And do not, this is what he says, my son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. Do not give in to the things that you want to do. Because they're coming, and that's how it all started. I wanted these alliances. I wanted to go ahead and do these high places. I wanted to go ahead and marry foreign women because it was going to be this good trade. And I ended up all the way to the left. Don't you get caught up in that same thing. This is not rocket science what he's telling them because he's trying to boil this down. Don't make the same mistakes. Yes, sir.
Going back to James.
Yep.
1:14.
Yep.
For each one is tempted when he is carried away and enticed by his own lust.
That's right.
Then when lust is conceived, it is birth of sin, and when sin is accomplished, it brings forth death.
Yep. That's one of the verses I love. And you know why? Because it puts the onus back on who it belongs. Brain. Right? Because let's ask the real question. How come I don't despise sin like God does? Because truthfully, as Christians, I shouldn't be able to entice you with sin. And you shouldn't be able to entice me with sin. And the reason is because I don't look at sin the way God looks at sin. And wisdom is to get that mind. We're going to think about Romans 12 when he says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? Have a change of mind so you see things as they are. Because what he says in verse 1 is, hey, this is your reasonable service, that you offer your body as a living sacrifice. It's your reasonable service for all that God did. And so what God is saying is have your mind transformed. I will tell you, for Brent, I have not transformed my mind fully the way I need to transform it. Because I don't see all sin as that is disgusting. I say, well, this is disgusting, that's disgusting, but I can understand how somebody would do that. That's a Brent problem. Let's just call it what it is. So, my son, when they come and they start trying to talk to you and blah, blah, get away. Do not consent to that thing you want to do. Keep going, John.
But he uses, I'll read it, but he uses a couple of drastic examples of sinners enticing.
Exactly.
He uses murder and robbery, and most of us will read this and say, well, I'm not tempted by that at all.
Right.
So therefore, we'll just read right over.
Right.
I'll read.
Right. Yeah. And but that is the point. The point is, and that's why I said what I said about Solomon at the beginning. Look, he was only doing the high places. How did he end up with 700 wives? At what point did that joker believe that I do not need another wife? Clay, how many do you need? It's a setup question. That's a setup, Clay. You're supposed to say like $6.99.
One is plenty.
Yes. So, but how do you get to that point, right? I mean, do the math. He had 1,000 women. If he saw each woman one day, that's 3 years.
I thought of that last week.
Yeah, that's when was he doing anything in the kingdom? All right, go ahead, John.
If they say, come with us, let us lie in wait for blood. Let us ambush the innocent without reason. Like Sheol, let us swallow them alive, and whole, like those who go down to the pit. We shall find all precious goods. We shall fill our houses with plunder. Throw in your lot among us. We will all have one purse. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Hold back your foot from their path.
Hold on. You guys know what he's saying? Don't even take the first step. And to John's point, we don't think of murder because most of us are not going to murder somebody. What's the Bible say about hatred and murder? It says if you have it, it's basically, you have hatred, it's going to lead to murder, is what the example is, right? If you hate and you don't correct, everything's about course correction. Everything God teaches is about course correction. If this goes unchecked, it is going to go to the extreme. And if you think it won't go to the extreme, I can tell you, I got a lot of family and a lot of friends who are locked up. It went to the extreme because it goes unchecked. Anything unchecked will go all the way. It'll take you further than you want to go. It'll put you on an island. It'll make you feel alone. It'll jack you up again, spit you out. You try to do something else to fix it instead of come back to God, and you get further and further and further. And if you think it's not real, every single one of us if you don't have some kind of addict in your family, raise your hand. What? Everybody has somebody who's some type of addict within their family?
Oh, addict.
Addict. Oh, you thought I said addict? Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm in the South, and I did not say it right. Sorry, YouTubers. Yes. A drug addict or alcoholic, somebody who's addicted to some kind of substance. You don't have anybody in your family line. I'm not talking about your immediate cousins, anybody. Wow.
No.
Y'all get out the room.
Oh, you need
I'm just
to
playing.
you need to throw pornography in there, and then nobody's gonna raise their hand.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right. But people who are addicted, that is very good though. People who are addicted, they never plan to be addicted. It's just not the plan. Nobody plans to be addicted. What happens? We go back to James. You have this desire, you have all this. And so what he is saying to his son is, don't take the first step on that path. Don't do it. Because, look, if you used to smoke cigarettes, they will always call you. And if you used to smoke weed, it is always going to be something you want. And if you used to drink, it's always going to be there. You're going to remember, you're going to know, and there's always going to be these little times. And so the best way for you to avoid sin and never get caught up in sin is to stay away from sin. Don't even get on the path. Keep going, John.
For their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. For in vain a net is spread in the sight of any bird, but these men lie in wait for their own blood.
Oh, that's so crazy. Verse 17 says you can't trap a bird by spreading a net and it sees it. But an evil person doesn't even see that they're setting a trap for themselves. A bird is so smart that if I turn around, these are my birds. You guys didn't have addicts, so people who are addicted. So if they were a bird, they would never get caught in this because they saw Brent set it up and they're just going to say, what is he doing? And go around. But an evil person is going to take their own net, set it up, and get themselves tangled. That's what he is saying. A bird has enough sense to avoid the trap, But somebody who is evil is so ignorant, they're just going to go straight into it. That's crazy. Yes, sir.
That's why.
I didn't wonder how it happened. Hey, that's a great comment.
That's why self-deception is so easy, because you only have to fool one person, and it's the one who wants to be fooled in the first place.
Ooh, that's beautiful. I'm going to use that one day to say thank you. Say that again.
I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah. It's one of those jewels you drop and you don't know how you did it. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Self-deception.
Oh, it's on tape. I got you. Don't worry. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Keep going, John.
They set an ambush for their own lives. Such are the ways of everyone who is greedy for unjust gain. It takes away the life of its possessors.
All right. So then he's going to go into this new segment, and he's going to talk about wisdom. And he's saying, look, wisdom is everywhere. You just don't pay attention. Here's what he's saying. Wisdom is shouting in the streets. Wisdom is yelling in the marketplace. Wisdom is calling out in the noisy crowds. Reads verses 20 and 21, somebody.
Out in the open, wisdom calls aloud. She raises her voice in the public square. On top of the wall, she cries out. At the city gate, she makes her speech.
All right. Do you believe that's true, Audrey?
Wisdom's a female?
Huh? Well, wisdom. That's how Solomon wrote it. So do you believe that's true, that wisdom's calling out like that?
Yes,
How?
I would say it is something hard to attain, and so when you do see someone acting upon wisdom, it's very obvious.
Yeah, so let's think about what we first read too, right? Wisdom is about an action that you can see how people are acting. Wisdom is out there yelling. You see people acting foolish and dumb and have no sense, and you see people doing the right thing. Wisdom is evident everywhere you go. You can see it. It is loud. It is obvious. There's rules that are based on wisdom, right? There's a rule. Think about that. Speed limits are based on wisdom. Why do they have speed limits? So that you can drive at a speed that is not put anybody else in jeopardy. We don't think about it like that, right? Why do we have police? So that those who are going to break the law can be, all these things are about wisdom. We see wisdom placed everywhere without, and wisdom is screaming everywhere. It is shouting in the streets. You're going to see wisdom, godly wisdom. You're going to see earthly wisdom. You're going to see people driving and talking crazy and doing whatever in the streets. You're going to see people who are doing the right thing, people acting right. Wisdom, and if you ever just sit back and ask yourself, I wonder why that person acts like that, you can start generating and understanding how wisdom really works, right? People don't just do stuff haphazardly. They typically do it for a reason. People typically do stuff for a reason.
Wisdom should be the path that everybody wants to go down. It should be, at least on paper, it should be what everybody wants, what everybody needs, and will be the best benefit to their life.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of things, but people see that and go, and then make different decisions.
No, I love that you said that. You made me want to jump ahead, but I won't, because we're about to get into what wisdom has to say. But first, we got to hit 22 through 30. So this is where wisdom gets interesting. Wisdom is getting ready to check everybody, to Clay's point. And wisdom is going to probably offend some people in what she says. And she says, look what I've done. I poured out my spirit. I made my words known to you, and I called you. Then wisdom is going to say, you know what you are? You're simple. You're fools. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to laugh at you, and I'm going to mock you. Start reading in verse 22, somebody.
How long will you who are simple love your simple ways? How long will mockers delight in mockery and fools hate knowledge? Repent at my rebuke, then I will pour out my thoughts to you. I will make known to you my teachings. But since you refuse to listen when I call, and no one pays attention when I stretch out my hand.
So let's make sure we got it. So here wisdom is saying, right? How long are you going to want to be simplistic? How long are you not going to do it? Why do you turn at my rebuke? Because I'm trying to get your attention. Turn, and I will surely pour my spirit on you. If you're willing to come, I'm going to give you more. I'm going to give you more if you come and do it. I will make my words known to you, verse 23. Because I have called and you refused, here it comes. Go ahead. Middle of 2024.
But since you refuse to listen when I call, and no one pays attention when I stretch out my hand, since you disregard all my advice and do not accept my rebuke, I, in turn, will laugh when disaster strikes.
Now, hold on. I will laugh at your calamity, or when disaster strikes. I will laugh. I just want you to think about that. Wisdom is going to laugh. Now, we've all seen it. when you raise kids and your kids, you tell them don't do something and they do it. After you beat their tail and you go into the room, don't you kind of laugh like, are they dumb? Or do they think we're dumb?
Well, yes.
Yes, they do, right? That's what that is. Keep going.
Okay. I will mock when calamity overtakes you, when calamity overtakes you like a storm, when disaster sweeps over you like a whirlwind, when disaster and trouble overwhelm you. Then they will call to me.
Hold on, does anybody think that sounds kind of messed up? I'm going to laugh at you. I'm going to sit up here when your distress and anguish come upon you. When destruction comes on you, I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to mock you. I'm going to mock your terror when it comes.
Not really, because you're doing the same thing.
You're doing it to yourself.
Oh, okay. You're
You're
doing it
gaining
yourself?
the wisdom, and the wisdom is telling you how stupid you are.
Right, and you said you're doing the same thing? Because really you're laughing and mocking with, I'm not to worry, right? It's so funny how this thing is about to flip. So keep going. 28.
Then they will call to me, but I will not answer.
So when do people typically call out to wisdom?
I mean,
How many deals have you made with God? Lord, I know I shouldn't have been out there smoking with my friends and getting high, and I got a ticket, and they about to arrest me. If you let me go just this one time, Lord, I promise I'm gonna do right. You know what wisdom says of that? That dummy really thinks they're gonna quit.
have fun in jail.
Right. Because you know why? If you were going to quit, you would quit. All of a sudden now, because you're in trouble, you're going to change and I'm going to do what's right. That's not how it works. Keep going.
They will look for me, but will not find me.
Oh, Doug, can you help me? You know, I know you've been trying to get me to come and study the Bible. Man, I promise, I'll come study with you and I'll do that. God, I'll be whoever you want me to be. I'll go to church with Doug. I'll sit up there. I'll go cut grass with Dennis. I'll do all this. Seeking, trying to do all the things that should have been done up front because now we got a problem on our plate. And wisdom is saying, for real? You could have avoided all of this nonsense if you only would have did what's right. Oh, now it's important to go to church with Doug, and oh, now it's important to do these things with Dennis. How come it wasn't important before? I don't even understand. Marshall, I don't even get how all of a sudden now you want to get involved and you want to do. Oh, how funny that is. Do you really believe that makes sense?
You have a consequence now.
You have a consequence. And wisdom is saying, I've been out here screaming, hey, pay attention, follow God, do what's right. God wants you to do. All you got to do is the fear of God is the beginning of knowledge. Look at what he says do and just obey him. It is so simple. If the God and creator of the universe says do something, just do it. Isn't that simple? I don't want to do it. I don't care what God says. I'm doing what I want to do. And then, oh, Lord, please, because I'm not trying to go to jail.
The image that keeps going to my mind is, Eric probably relate to this, is the idea of a runway. It's safe, it's well lit, it's calling you, it's got all kinds of electronics telling you to land here. This is safe. Imagine having airplanes hitting the grass and just falling apart.
Yeah.
And hitting the guys in the tower going,
Yeah. All right. First of all, you know how to fly.
He's calling out to you.
You know the rules. Here's the lights. Just stay right here. We just gave you the code. Go ahead and drop. Boom. You're safe to approach. Why are you sitting up here accelerating going through? Right? It's crazy. And again, it goes back to the rules. Right? The rules are there so that when the air traffic controller tells the airplane to do something, you know why they do it? Because they know that the air traffic controller is looking at the dots on the screen. And when they say, hey, J9er, go to 37,000 feet, and they say it calm as day, they're being calm, but really, they're looking at this. and all you have to do is react to what they said do. And if you do that, you're safe.
That's the idea of calling out, like in verse 21, she cries out in the chief concourse. She's calling out.
Yep.
Wisdom is calling out to you. This is what you need. This is safe. This
Right.
is the where you need to be.
Yep.
And then not doing that.
Right.
Like, how could you miss it? It was well lit.
Right.
You were told.
Right.
And now the air traffic control guy's going,
Yeah.
I can't tell you anything else.
Right. Exactly. Yes, sir.
So it's funny y'all think of that because I don't.
That's called retirement.
I think of my children, right? So the funny thing for me with the word wisdom is I think sometimes we put way too much weight into that word. And what I mean by that is we make it harder than it is. And we think it's this thing that we're always striving for, that we have to go get, that we'll never ever fully obtain, and that is a harder and heavier load than we will ever be able to bear, and something that we until the day we die, we're striving, and in a sense we are, don't get me wrong, but sometimes we set it up on this huge pedestal, and it's not. And so I just had to talk with Casey. I'm not throwing her a bus, but you can open that door so we say it louder if you want to. Just kidding. Just kidding. But so she wants to do something that in her heart of hearts she knows is not probably the correct thing to do, right? And so she made this stupid maneuver of coming and asking me to stay with her mom. And I just went, honey, point, right? These are the points you need. And she's like, that's not what I want to hear. And I'm like, well, I'm so sorry. I said, but this is keeping it real and this is truth.
Yep.
And I said, you may not like what I'm telling you, and that's not my goal to make you like it. I'm telling you what you need to know.
Right.
Now you get to make a decision because you're growing up, and you have to make a decision here, and you're going to have consequences to that decision, and you got to decide if you want to deal with those consequences, right? Well, folks, that's wisdom, right? And wisdom's simple. It really, really is. It's not like everybody in here doesn't know sin's bad, right? Sin's bad. You don't know that? Sin's bad, don't do it. If you do it, there's consequences, and you got to deal with that. But sometimes I think we just make wisdom this thing that, it's okay because I'll get wise, No. I'm sorry. My 16-year-old daughter should have some wisdom.
Right. The Bible says if anybody likes wisdom, let him ask God. Right? And
God
wisdom,
gives you a whole book of
right? And wisdom comes. It's going to continue to grow if you continue to stay in God's word. It's not just a data dump of whoop. There you go. Yeah. You will grow as you grow in knowledge. You'll grow in understanding. You'll grow in wisdom if you keep applying and doing as you go. As we're constantly growing.
Wisdom becomes a lot easier when you decide God's number one and you're number two.
Exactly.
Yeah, when you're number one, you're gonna wisdom's gonna be hard to obtain.
Absolutely, definitely.
It's like a continual warning. Warning after warning after warning. It's not too late, you can still turn. Not too late, you can still turn. And it's too late.
Yep. And it's funny. What's funny about that?
Yeah.
Here's the answer to that. He must be talking to his daughter. Got it. Then he says in 28, when they call on me, I will not answer. Right? They will seek me diligently, but they will not find me, because they hated my knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would have none of my counsel and despise my every rebuke. Therefore, they shall eat the fruit of their own way. To your point, Ryan, you're getting what you wanted. You are getting what you wanted. You wanted to go out there and kick it and have a good time and life is good. You got that, right? And be filled with the fruit of their own fancies. Go back to James chapter 1. For the turning away of the simple will slay them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to me will dwell safely and will be secure without fear of evil. If we follow God's path and we're obedient to God, we can have a peace that surpasses understanding. That's wisdom. I got announcements, so I'm done. Appreciate y'all. Well, lesson 2 is where Jake's going to pick up on Sunday. Yeah, y'all messed me up with that. I knew everybody. Y'all. Fantastic. I know, but that's
Thank you.
Well,
Nice
it's
culture.
great. It's still great.
Was that the advice about marrying you?
Yeah. Honestly, everybody thinks it's
Well, how many years have they been?
Yeah, this will be their time in row. I mean, they've already been there.
That work. There's three more.
Maybe here for a minute.
Thank you.
$2 more. $2 more. You're right, man.
We got all kinds of stuff.
Working together.
That's Saturday.
You know, on that thing, I was thinking, you can make choices. God didn't
Sunday
give you
is
the
the
ability to
women's,
choose the concepts.
luncheon, it's out
Yeah.
again.
You don't ever know, you know,
That's when wisdom takes place.
and that's kind of what Proverbs 1 was saying there.
It's already here.
You're either personified by foolish or by wisdom.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,